Our facilities update. We want to take you through our facilities program update. Overall, what we're doing in design construction. Planning, design, and construction. There is a map of our project locations. A progress update on our major projects that we have ongoing right now. So you see. Sorry, our clicker is not working.
I think you have it on the laser setting.
Thank you, John.
So we'll take you through a progress update of all of our major projects that we have in construction at the moment. Review our owner direct purchase program. The summer projects that we're working on currently with a big rush to finish up before school opens. An update on our 5-year plan for major capital projects. And then we would like to discuss the Fifth Street property adjacent to Lakeview Elementary. At the end, at that point, we'll ask Mr. Poinciana to come to the table to help us with that discussion. So slide 2. It's not working again. So the facilities program overall, we don't have anything in pre-planning. But that line item usually gets updated once the budget for the new year gets updated. So we see our projects that are 2 or 3 years out, we start pre-planning for those. So once the budget gets approved, that'll get updated. But our projects in planning, about $122 million. Our projects in design, close to $400 million, and our projects in construction, $410 million. As you can see, majority of our work is currently in construction. For the program, capital program update, overall value of roughly $934 million. It's a pretty significant size from where we were a year and a half ago. So I did attempt to, I broke down projects in planning on slide 3, projects that are in design on slide 4, and projects that are in construction in slide 5, and I'll review that. But the last item on design and construction and miscellaneous projects, there is a separate sheet that was provided with your packets to show the breakdown of those in the event there were questions. The second page. It shows what those miscellaneous projects were. Sorry, Sean. Yeah, that's. So this is how we track the entire program, projects across the board. So the projects that we have in planning that we're working to get off the ground right now, the 2 large ones are the Oxa Comprehensive Project and the Reedy Creek Comprehensive Project as well. The Toho Athletic Fields is a project that we're trying to remediate, and we're hoping to start that pretty soon. All of that is voluntary work from our designers. They are volunteering to design it, and we're working through the cost side for the construction part of it. I'm hoping to get it done by the end of the year, early next year. Major projects that we have in design, which are in slide 4, we have the new high school AAA off of Nova Road, Kindred, K8AA, which is in the Kindred subdivision, K8DD, which is in the Roanbridge subdivision, our Transportation West facility, and we have 2 smaller projects that we presented to you, which is the Kissimmee Elementary School kitchen and serving line and the Harmony High School Central Energy Plant retrofit. You're going to notice in the miscellaneous projects that we have a significant amount of these kitchen renovation projects as well as our HVAC projects. As we committed to the board, wherever we have issues and we can help our maintenance department to get projects like these done, they're coming to the facilities department and getting executed. So we're going to see a lot more of those coming forward. Projects in construction is significant. We're very busy. Gateway High School is our largest one, which is on target. And as we get into the major updates, we're going to have photographs and show you progress for those. The K8BB, which is in the Knightsbridge subdivision off of Poinciana Boulevard, K8CC, Sunbridge, which is over in the Tavistock, and Transportation East. Even though we've issued the GMP for Transportation East, they're currently in their long lead procurement items, so they'll probably break around September for that project with the intention of opening it over next summer. NEOCITY Academy Phase 2, which we've started tilting walls. St. Cloud High School, we have that building addition happening. And then we have a bunch of smaller projects like our Cypress HVAC retrofit, Westside K8 kitchen, Poinciana High School drop-off area, as well as a bunch of space reconfigurations and parking projects that we're trying to get done this summer as well. The next slide 6 is, it shows you where our major projects are scattered across the entire district. As you can see, the top right is where K8CC, which is in the Sunbridge Division off of Narcoossee Road. That's happening all the way there. And to the left, you have Celebration Island Village Elementary School. The name needs to be changed, my apologies. Which is a school that we just, at the end of June, we got our certificate of occupancy. So we've moved in 100% and we have use of the building. So the next ones are, I look forward to presentations like these because I don't get to show you pictures often. They're kind of nice and show a lot of progress. So this is kind of exciting for us. Gateway High School, slide 7 is an aerial view of Gateway High School, and slide 8 shows you what the front of the building is looking like. The aerial, so the parking area at the front of the school is intended to be open for first day of school this summer. So it's significantly more along. This photograph was taken since 6/6. We typically fly our aerials once a month just to save cost. So this entire parking area would be done and paved for opening of school. We are on target to get that done. And the building to your far left is the new cafeteria, and that will be open for the first day of school as well. I had a tour with Dr. Shanoff on Friday. We walked those facilities. The next major portion is the Building 1, which is a massive building. It has admin, media center, gym, and some classrooms as well, is slated to be opened in October. So it's slightly behind. We do have challenges with our electrical gear showing up on time, but we are putting temporary measures in place to make sure that we stick to our schedule. So significant progress has been made. Slide 9 shows you the cafeteria, the inside. Our FF&E shows up in a week, so tables will be in place. We are on target to get occupancy, and we're working close with our school nutrition services folks to be in that building. Slide 10 shows you the progress that we've made. The photograph to your left is the new gymnasium, which is our new EHPA. So it is a shelter built for hurricane preparedness. And the photograph to your right is the new auditorium standing on the stage. I look a lot better than that in a couple of months, I promise. Slide 11 is an aerial view of Island Village Elementary that was taken 6/6. As you can see, we were in the process of putting down sod. This is all buttoned up, and like I said, Mr. Confessor has moved into his office. Registration starting to greet parents. So we are looking to wrap up our punch list and any small items that we have out there. So it's really exciting for us because the challenges that we had when we started this project with our HVAC equipment showing up on time, even steel showing up on time, for us to open 6 weeks ahead of time, ahead of school opening, is really a big win for us, and so we're celebrating that. Slide 12 shows you what the school looks like. That's the front entrance where the canopy is. Slide 13 shows you a typical classroom on your left. And the new playgrounds, we have both a youth and a tot lot. Tot lot is the one that's covered with poured-in-place rubber, as our new standards dictate. Slide 14, again, we've said HVAC so many times in the last year that I had to show you that it's actually realistic and our chillers are on site. So, and then slide 15 shows you the new front office with the secure lobby. And to your left, and the photograph to your right is our new art room, which leads to an art patio on the exterior of the school. It's all pretty nice. Slide 16 is a photograph to your left is principal's office, but it is a photograph of a typical office. It's the same carpet. And slide 16 is the back area in the kitchen where we have all of our equipment and our cooler freezers.
The furniture doesn't look very nice.
No,
Looks like IKEA.
we do have standard furniture though, Mr. Aguayo, that we use. So slide 17 is an aerial view of the K8BB, which is off of Poinciana Boulevard. We refer to it unofficially, yes, in the Knightsbridge subdivision, because that's where it's located. Now, this is much farther along. The entire classroom wing is up. Again, Dr. Shanoff and I took a tour of that. As you can see to the top right of your picture, that's where the track is going to be, and it shows a significant amount of stacking where we're going to bring our parent traffic onto our property to avoid any kind of backups onto Poinciana. I know that's been a very touchy subject recently. So we're making significant progress with this. Slide 18 shows you the walls as we pour them on the ground, and on your left, and the photograph shows the first panel being lifted, which was probably over a week and a half ago. Like I said, significant portion of the building's already up, and we're starting to put steel in place. Slide 19 is a photograph, an aerial photograph of K8CC, and this is in the Sunbridge subdivision. This entire building is up. It's slightly ahead of the Knightsbridge. We already have most of our decking and our structural steel in place, so they're going to start pouring our lightweight for our roof, start building our roof and drying in the building. This project is also on target. Slide 20 shows you the details of that as it was happening. Again, they're a few weeks old, so obviously we've made significantly more progress. Slide 21 is an aerial photograph of the new NEOCITY building addition. Again, this is a little bit behind because most of that building is already erected as of this week. It is a very tight site to work on, and our contractor is doing a pretty phenomenal job of making sure that we don't interrupt our existing functions at the original building. Slide 22 just shows you a photograph lower down on that. Slide 23 is, we don't fly aerials for this because we're trying to save money, so we went up on the roof and took a photograph because it's adding the building at St. Cloud High School. It's just an addition to this. It is a significant project in terms of size. It's about $14 million, but again, we tried to cut costs wherever. This is an extremely tight site. They are on target to open around April or May of next year. So it is significantly ahead, but this is just a classroom addition to offset the growth in that area. Slide 24 shows you the parking improvements. So what we've done is, as a part of this project, is add a lot of parking for our staff and students, which is expected to be open this summer as well. From slide 25 on is for much of our smaller projects. So we are working at Cypress Elementary. They're getting a complete HVAC replacement, a new chiller, air handlers, ductwork, control system. So we're doing a lot of the heavy lifting this summer, then we'll take a pause and we'll get back in over the breaks, weekends, to get any other work done. We're gonna do a significant amount of work over the Christmas break, and then spring break, we expect to wrap up the project. Kissimmee Middle School is on slide 26. We are doing a complete cabling replacement for our IT folks. We are on target to get this done. The school never lost operational function of the school, so they are still in the school. We are ahead of schedule. I want to say that's very few times that I would ever say that, but we are ahead of schedule because our IT folks have been working really closely with our contractor to get things done. So this would be, we are going to see a lot more of these projects come down the pipeline because we have so many of our schools with the older cabling being one-to-one, trying to provide speed that's needed. Slide 27 is Westside K8 School. This is another project that will be wrapped up this summer for school opening. Westside is getting a complete redo in their kitchen, adding some a new cooler freezer, a kitchen manager's office, serving lines, as well as all the upgrades that they needed to support that and the flooring. So you can see it's a significant amount of work that we're getting done, and we are on target to get it done and open before school reopens.
Can I ask for this one? This was one of, not a newer build, but it's not an older build either. So was this redesigned because of the growth in that area, just the number of students that are coming, like a NEOCITY situation?
So I can't answer that. I'm sorry, because it's one that I inherited when I came, but I would think that the justification would be the amount of students and the amount of lunches that we would have,
Right.
the time it takes to get them through the serving line. So one of the things that we did here was create additional serving lines so that we can push more students through at the same time. We're using the same amount of space. Slide 28 is So you guys heard the story about how our distributors stopped wanting to break down the food and distributing them to schools, so we've had to take that burden on, and we have temporary coolers here at Bldg that we have been leasing. So what we've done is we've pulled those out, and we're putting in permanent coolers that allows us to do that and save on the rental costs in the long run as well. So this is a project that's currently happening, is expected to be wrapped up sometime just after summer. One of the challenges to our team is to avoid using portables on sites whenever we can. You know, some of our older schools have, when I say older, the original designs, original versions have some larger classrooms than we use in today's prototypical design. So like at Narcoossee Middle School or Celebration High School, we have these really large classrooms that are not really functional. And so what we've done is we've gone into Narcoossee Middle, and that's what you're seeing in slide 29, 30. And we are divvying up those classrooms and creating spaces that can be used as traditional classrooms. What essentially was one is now two. So we're doing a lot of that, and what we're doing is upping our student seats and avoiding the use of avoiding adding portables on our sites. So slide 31 shows you a similar project at Celebration High School that's currently happening, and both of these projects are on target to be done before school opens and our folks move in and have our students in there.
How many additional student stations will you be creating with this?
I'm sorry. So at Narcoossee, I want to say it's 75, and please don't quote me, I can certainly get that back to you. And I think a Celebration is roughly about 150 or something like that. But we can email that to you. I apologize, I don't have that in my fingertips. So another challenge that we face at a lot of our schools is parking, stacking, and queuing, and our traffic backing up onto public roads. And so we are working at Neptune Elementary, and that's the drawing that you see on slide 32. 33, you're seeing the progress that we've made. We are adding parking, stacking, and queuing to bring most of our parent traffic onto our site. Typically, originally what we had was just a light grayed out area, just a loop, and so we are bringing a lot more cars onto our site. I think it's upwards of 100 now. It should have a significant impact. So we're on target to finish this and open for first day of school as well. Poinciana High School is on slide 35, and I know that's one that an email came out on today. And that's supported by the map that you have that was put along there. So with the amount of work that we had to do, what we're trying to do is essentially avoid the traffic backups onto Narcoossee. We're very well aware, Poinciana, I apologize. We're very well aware of how much it is. And we have a very tight loop. The amount of work that we needed to do on that site was not feasible to be done in one summer. So what we decided to do was phase it. So the part in yellow is expected to be done by August 3rd. And that is going to essentially add a lot more parking and stacking on site. Whilst a month and a half later, the part in green is expected to be completed, which would bring the entire project online. And so you end up with what's essentially slide 35. What that helps us to do is right turn traffic no longer needs to go to the stoplight. They can simply use the right turn exit only, and they can leave. So right now, when both sets of cars reach at that stoplight at the school entrance, that's what potentially creates the backup. So what we're thinking is that what we can do with the amount of space we have is create a right turn only, and then we brought a lot more of our traffic through the parking areas, which is not done right now because it's all grass parking. We've formalized our student parking, and essentially we're thinking this is going to help significantly with the traffic backups that we have on Poinciana. So I know the email today from our constituent was about the progress on the work. I did follow up with our teams. Our expectation is that we're going to have pavement down for the first phase for August 3rd. School opens a week later. And then we'll wrap up roughly about 6 weeks later and back out of the entire project.
What are they gonna do in that interim?
The interim for the
Yeah,
6 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't change anything than what was happening
They're gonna
last
still
year.
be parking in the
Yes,
grass.
yes, sir. We've worked with the principal at the school to work out the phasing plan, so he is taking care of his student parking and stuff like that. I think essentially what he's doing is shifting them to the back of the school and allowing us to work here for 6 weeks and then bringing them back. So, I'm sorry?
Who's doing that work?
Semco, that's one of our local contractors. So, next photographs are that. At Celebration K8, slide 37, we are adding a new track. We've resealed their parking lot already and restriping it. The intention here is another parking project. So currently, we don't bring any of the parking, any of the stacking onto the site. And what happens with that is the traffic backups again. So what we've done is we've added some fencing to separate our play fields and the new track from the parking area, and we're stacking more of our parking on our site during drop-off and dismissal. We're expecting that to help as well. This project is, the track would potentially be paved but not be able to be used for first day of school because of the cure time for the asphalt, but they will still have the area to be, they can still play there, we just won't be able to stripe it and stuff like that. It's just minor stuff. But the parking is already completed, and the fencing is in, so we're expecting the new traffic pattern to kick off first day of school. Slide 38. It's a very deliberate reason for putting this. Our contracts for renovation projects, that's when we're just, existing building and we're making it better, we target 20% owner direct purchase. And what this does is it saves us the sales tax. For new construction like Island Village Elementary, we target 30% of the direct cost of work. As you can see, we have been able to exceed those in almost every instant. The numbers in blue, the projects that are in blue, are still in progress, so those are not completed as yet, but we're pretty close to our target, and our contractors are also very aware of what that is because it's something that we score them on when we do future selections. So essentially what we've done on the large projects and over the last 5 years is save about $4.4 million in sales tax by just using the owner direct purchase program. Our summer projects, we're extremely busy, as I showed you, with all the space reconfigurations, parking stacking project. We have quite a bit happening. Island Village Elementary is open. We've wrapped up the roof on Building 2000, so we're no longer having leaks everywhere. The Westside serving line, Gateway Phase 2 is opening, Narcoossee, and we've done some smaller projects of adding gutters at Hickory Tree, fixing some of the concrete issues that we've had. And we have our secure lobby projects, which there is a list on that sheet as well. We're doing 9 of them this summer. They're not all going to be done for opening of school, but they're not going to interrupt our operations as well. So we are doing this, and the remainder of the district is expected to be done by next summer. So we are deliberately targeting all of our secure lobby, hardening the schools as best we can. So that brings us that. So slide 40 is our 5-year capital plan. What it shows you is schools that we have planned, we're working on, and the schools that are potentially coming up. As you go down, you can see OXA, High School AAA, which is already in design, and Reedy Creek, which we've established a budget for to be open in 27-28. K8EE and K8FF are schools that we are targeting based on projections that we're seeing, growth. As you can see, they are shown to be open in 27-28 and 28-29. These are part of our budget planning as well, so you'll see those same projects show up there. And they are mitigation agreements that our real estate team and our legal teams are working on to acquire those properties so we can start planning them well, designing them.
One is completed, choose in negotiation.
There you go. So K8EE is completed, and K8FF we're currently negotiating. That's why I brought her to the table, so you can keep me straight. So the last item that we have on our agenda, I'll ask Mr. Marchena to step up if he doesn't mind, is the Fifth Street property. Which is next to Lakeview Elementary. Slide 41 shows you where it's located, just across from our current playfield. And so I'll ask Mr. Marchena to give us a brief overview of where we're at and what our recommendations are.
Certainly. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and board members. I'm Marcos Marchena with Marchena and Graham. We do a fair amount of your real estate legal work. Since you're probably going to see her in the next week or two, I wanted to introduce one of my partners, Ann Vandenberg, who's been working on a number of your matters, who's here with me tonight. So this property was declared surplus, and we entered into a contract with Starlight Homes, who's a subsidiary of Ashton Woods, a large development company. And it was to sell the entire piece for $4.2 million. They were contemplating 175 townhome lots. It had a reasonable length of time for due diligence, but then, of course, it had a much longer length of time for securing the subdivision approvals from the city of St. Cloud. There were several short amendments on the due diligence piece, but then in May of 2022, when I think everyone realized the complexity of getting through the St. Cloud process, and the demands that St. Cloud was making on additional land for widening the road in front of the school, and us asking the developer to pay for those things, and us looking at the school board redoing some of the on-site parking, stacking, and so on. We said this is going to be a longer process, so we agreed that the approval process would be allocated essentially a year. The developer probably put, this is my number, this is not something that they told me, but I do this kind of work, so I'm able to guess this. They probably spent between $150,000 and $250,000 in trying to get this project through with all the professionals that are involved in trying to get this process done. But the city of St. Cloud denied the project. Now, this is not a situation where the city of St. Cloud is denying the school board's requests, even though we're the owner. This is them denying a private developer's request. So it's a little different situation than them denying us the right to build a school. The fallback at that point is, did the developer think that there was just justifiable basis for the denial? Whether or not it was, they weren't willing to put any more money into the project, so they gave us a notice of termination on June 7th that essentially killed that contract. We've discussed it with staff and with the Bishop Beal folks. Jill Rose and Mike Beal are also here, who are your brokers. And the recommendation is to go back out for potential suitors, but with a much more realistic density expectation. We initially did that contract at 175 units with a possibility of going down to 160, which would have brought the price down to 3.8. And they decided to pursue the 194, which would have taken the price to $4,000,005 and change. We think a much more reasonable, realistic density will probably be anywhere between 120, 130, 140, which of course the price will have to be adjusted to take that into account. But we still think that it makes sense to continue to try to sell that property. And as a result of that, you'll end up hopefully with some improvements in the traffic, parking, and stacking for Lakeview Elementary. I don't know
What
if I
makes
missed
you
anything, but I'm
think
happy to answer questions.
that St. Cloud isn't going to deny another developer?
So the indication from the city during the hearings was that the density was too high and that something more reasonable would be viewed more favorably.
Okay.
I think you had a lot.
But to be fair, Chair, there is no guarantee, okay, until the vote is taken.
I was going to say the same thing because the real reason was because there was a ton of resistance to this project to begin with. There was resistance to us selling it. There was resistance to the city for approving it. It wasn't looked upon favorably. I imagine coming off of a win, the people who are opposed to this project being built are going to be very.
And that's absolutely true, but remember, this is not a situation where they're entitled to simply say no.
Right.
At some point, either we or the developer can choose to say, we're going to challenge that. And in fact, if I may be so bold, I would recommend that this next contract reserve to the school board the authority to challenge an adverse decision, even if the developer were to decide not to challenge an adverse decision. Because at some point, you're going to have other surplus properties. You want to make sure that you protect your ability to generate revenues from the properties, because what you're having to pay for your properties is very significant in the market.
So, a little bit of history that predates me. I was talking to Rhonda and the team. Our intention was always to use, the original intentions were to use this money from the sale of this property towards our transportation projects. And so, we've clearly funded one, but it still stands out there. It wasn't that we were just trying to sell the property because we wanted to, but there was a reason behind it, I guess.
Well, now it makes it clear that it was a bad decision to switch the order in which those are being built. If this doesn't get sold for the amount of money that we need to develop the second one, then we should have built the one that we absolutely needed before we built the one that we didn't need as much.
Yeah.
That is, are there any other questions on this particular project?
Okay, and that brings us to the last item, which is our superintendent's discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Sharma. Appreciate the presentation. This was very thorough. I also want to thank Mr. Sharma's team for taking the time to itemize the miscellaneous projects in design and also itemize the miscellaneous projects that are in construction. I know that in previous workshops, there have been questions about, well, what does that, say, 5.1 million entail? What does that 2.8 entail? And so that itemization, I think, is very, very helpful. A couple of things that I wanted to highlight from the presentation that I think are worth noting. Slide 17, which is the Knightsbridge K8. There were two things that I noticed as I approached the property. Number one was and it's not here on this. This was taken a long time ago, but the right turn lane entering the school is quite long, which will help ease some of the traffic. The other thing is that Mr. Sharma, if you could please share with the board how many cars are going to be in that queue. I think that would be helpful for our board and the public to know.
Absolutely. If I want to be accurate, but our count is about 225 cars that we can bring on site.
So that's substantial. And slide 28, I just want to mention about the centralization of freezers and coolers. This kind of goes hand in hand with us entering into, or for your approval tonight, entering into the Power by Agreement. This is now going to be essentially the new standard, having centralized freezers and coolers for food and nutrition services. So it's kind of a dream to have a direct ship from a food service provider. It's just not feasible anymore for us to be able to do that, especially with all the shortages in truck drivers. It's just very, very difficult. A centralized model makes it a lot easier. Lastly, I want to compliment the team on the very aggressive approach to owner direct purchasing. That, of course, is a major value driver within any school construction program. I think it's also important for us, and maybe this is something we look at down the line, really looking at not just the owner direct purchasing, but how much money comes in after final reconciliation of these projects. So then the public can really see that we've done our due diligence with their dollars and that we can reinvest those funds back into additional projects. So kudos to the team, Mr. Sharma. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Just a point of clarification with the Lakeview property. The Lakeview property was specifically going to fund the Westside transportation, or did you mean it fund transportation projects?
No, it was,
To fund the transportation facilities as they became available.
Okay.
That and the sale of the Pine Tree property, that was the intent of the sale, was to put toward the two facilities.
no, if to Mr. Martinez, I'm tagging on, if I should be so bold, we're talking $4 million compared to the $48 million or $50 million that we're going to pay for one of these. So it was just a matter of trying to
Okay.
offset a little bit of that quarter penny sales tax that we put towards those facilities.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any more questions. Team, do you have any additional questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Or,
Time. Look at us.
You don't get extra points for that.
no, I gave back.